Hello. Let's see. Sound is on. Okay. Okay. So I'm here. Like right now, you can just see my little error there. And do you want to be in the? Because then we can say hello.
Hi.
This hello. So Clarita asked me if I could show her how to plan a sleeve because she has gotten a client that wants a sleeve, and I thought, but hey, that's a great idea. Let's. If I'm gonna answer that question, I'm gonna do it thoroughly. So, just showing like, okay, what is a sleeve, and is this, I think, will be in any style. We can sort of, because you don't do the same style as I do anyway.
Mhm.
So I think to just at least go through the basics of how to plan a sleeve and what to think about is important. Um, okay. So, um, the first thing to see in a sleeve, I would say, is the anatomy, right? Because if we, I have both a female example here. Like, I do a lot of cover ups, but you don't have to think about this at the moment. Um, but just to think about the anatomy, then what's important is to understand, um, let's see here, like the main shapes. You know what I mean? Like the main, if you were to build this with clay, you know what I mean? Then you would build like this is a round area, right? This is like, it's a big ball. And then you have a muscles here, like there's a muscle there, and there's a muscle, like basically what I'm seeing in, like in her arm. And then you have this long sort of, so I'm just seeing her arm as it was in almost like circles or shapes. Like if I were to, it's difficult to explain this anatomy thing, but when you define the shapes, the general shapes, it's easier to think dynamic composition and this sort of journey in the arm, and what happens when she twists her arm and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
and then the rest is more like, this is more like, you know, there, and then you have the inside as well, like there, and then you have, of course, the inside of the, like the upper arm as well, like that's on the back side. So, when you think about this, that's why it's so. I have this put. There could be a challenge, for to really understand anatomy. You would have a friend, or whoever, a man or a woman, you know, just to draw on them with markers, just to sort of visualize these main
Shapes.
shapes, yeah.
Mhm.
And then you draw a typical 90s tribal. That was
Yeah.
one of my biggest like lessons when I, because that was like trendy at the time, but it was really good for tattoo artists to learn like how I did the tribals. So just by using this, you know, the circles, I almost use these as the general sketch,
Mhm.
you know, so I can have the, that's why I love the S shape. You
Yeah.
know, you can use this to make like this S-shaped kind of thing, and you know
And
what I mean.
here as well. It looks very good.
Mm.
It's like
And as long as you like use the shapes in some way, I'm not like this typical like, I'm not a tribal expert right now, but you know what I mean. Like, or if it was the Norwegian rosemaling, we have the, like the old traditional painting, like we had on old, like if you're in the mountains and you can see the old wooden chests. They're usually like blue or red, and they are painted with rosemaling. It's very beautiful, but that's also it's almost like a colorful but painted version of the old tribal, and it's very with the almost like filigree patterns. Yes, so that's very traditional Norwegian. Let's see if I can show this on the iPad. It's easier.
it's like a wave.
Yeah.
Mm.
So if it's tribal or if it's you know, those Norwegian Somali, I don't know, whatever it is, it's usually a very nice way to, you know what I mean? Like this is almost like a tribal. It's just flowers
Mm-hmm.
in addition,
Mm.
because you have the sort of the main wave and the smaller waves, and then you know something else. So this is very typical Norwegian, and this is, you know, so that you can always, if you, and I love to connect a sleeve here, like this is like the main. I love this. If you put something special there, then that just connects everything because of the movement also. So that's why it's such a great challenge to look at a like study your husband, look at his arm, study it, draw on it with markers or something, and then you see how it moves when he twists his arm and when he flexes and everything. Like what happens if you draw something and then he flexes like this? Will it still look good? Will it still have a nice flow? Because the flow is what I would say is, yeah, movement and flexing, uh, flow, so that this still has the general stuff like in the right place. But you're gonna do a sleeve with like different, more like nature and stuff, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I would just say if it's nature, well, you know, I continued on a sleeve today. So this is the lower arm. She has lots of scars on her lower arm. So I made the water sort of look at look like it's you know, I use the scars to show the
The movement.
the water, yeah, the
water.
movement in the water, so that it's sort of it shines, you know. So I think, but yeah, she would actually she was thinking about planning the lower arm first and then doing the upper arm, and I said no, we plan the whole thing, but if you only want to do the lower arm first and you want to wait or whatever, but it's nice to have a plan on the full sleeve, because if you plan a lower arm first and you just put some stuff there, And then, I mean, time goes by, or then he or she may want something, so that it looks like a sleeve, but then you have to plan for the rest of the sleeve with that in, as a
Reference.
yeah, and as a start. So you have to sort of continue that. So I think to just know the anatomy first, study muscles, and I think maybe it's easier to look at this client, the guy that I made the Viking sleeve on. I mean, this is also a cover up, but here it's even more like visible, this round muscle there, and then this big round muscle here, right? And then you have this again, and then you have this again. You have the back, and then you have the front, because when he moves his arm, you see that this, because that's also
connects with the other part.
Yeah. Right. So, and one thing, if you notice that, for example, my cherries, when you look at it like this from front, it looks like it's in the middle of the inside of the lower arm. As soon as I twist, you still see half of the cherry motive.
Yeah, like the face of the mirror cat.
So that this arm, like the lower arm, bends and twists a lot. So when you're planning a sleeve, you have to sort of think about
it has to be related what you're doing in both sides.
Yeah. So, and I think that I think the first thing is to understand the anatomy, and really even like look at, for example, the photos of let's see if I can just Google it here. Male arm muscle, and I'm not thinking about those, but I'm thinking more like those inner, like to study more like the muscles, like where are they and what happens when they move. So what you could do is sort of like have a little your own little doctor's sort of challenge with your husband, for example, because then it's easier to like, okay, look at the back side there and draw the exact muscles that you see on these examples and draw them on him and see, you know what I mean? Because then it's easier for you to really understand the anatomy. Like this round on the top, and then you have the bicep, and so that is what I would say is the number one thing, like understand the anatomy of the muscles and what happens when you twist and turn. Because when you draw the muscles on an arm, it's easier to understand what happens when you twist and turn. And then it's like placing stuff when you just, okay, I know that, for example, when I want I start with the ideas from the client, and I, listen to what they want. I do the homework thing that my clients seem to like that, and that's another like product for you. If you want to, let me know. But the homework thing, that helps me to get the visuals of what they want, and I can show you that one too. I can help you with that. That's another.
By homework.
It's actually because I used to just have a consultation with people and write down their ideas and take pictures of their arm, for example, and I would just write what they're saying, their ideas, and then I wouldn't do the design that same evening. I would probably wait until later, just before their appointment or anything, and then I have 3 kids and they go to bed, and then I have time to sit down and okay, look at the notes, try to Google images to have references because I like to do it realistic. I don't want to draw from my head, my imagination. I really admire tattoo artists that can do that. So if you do that, then lucky you. But I do realism, so I need to have the photos. But to find the photos, I have to sort of Google it. But I don't do that anymore either. I would rather make them in Midjourney. And I don't make the design in Midjourney, but I make the pieces, so that if a person wants, like I can show you one example. Well, actually, this guy. Let's see here. He wanted a Viking theme, right?
I remember.
And so he gave me the ideas of, this is like a Viking sitting on his knees. Let's do it like this. And then this is in the moment, or like the exact moment that he dies, so that his spirit sort of comes up above him, towards, and then in the background you see the stairs that goes towards the gate to Valhalla. And this is, it's a mythology, so it's like there's no rules, sort of. There are probably some rules, but it's a mythology. It's almost like a religion, so it's open for interpretation, and you can do sort of whatever you wanted. So, and here in the top, I made this mountain to cover, let's see here, the tattoo that was beneath it. So like this. So that then I got a dark area to cover that one. But cover ups is another course for later.
So this would be the circle.
Yes. Now you see
the
there.
The stairs are like the connection here.
But I didn't want the circle to be straight on his muscle. I wanted it because I only wanted to show like not the full circle, but it was only going to be almost like see-through in the background. But I wanted the gate to be sort of in the middle, and then I used the this elbow muscle thing as the placement for the stairs, so that they bend down. And then the golden spot. This is the golden spot. And I use that for her, so the portrait of her is in there. And then he's more like in the middle. And then in the background, it's more like because over, let's see, over here, this area, you can't see it that much. It's like here. I can't see this. I know that I have fairy there, but I can never see it. So I usually just use that sort of as almost like when you're sewing, and you cut up and then you sew it together in the back.
Yeah.
So it's like I merge it together so that her hair goes sort of in there, in the back behind him, and sort of becomes a little more blurry. So that you have to think of like that loop in a way. It loops from here to there, so that it's like goes on and on. So whatever you do in the edge has to come back to on the other side. So yeah, like that's why I put the sailing boat, like the Viking ship, twice, to check that, okay, if you look at it from this angle and you see like from the middle and you see towards the inner side of his upper arm, then you see the ship. Or if you bend and see backwards, and then you can see the ship. So it depends on how he bends his arm. But yeah, so that's, and then you have, of course, the hand. There. Right. That's another shape, if you want to include the hand. I love it when people want to include the hand.
Yeah, because you have more story.
Yeah. So then you sort of understand the anatomy of it, and why you need to sort of place. You should never like place. I have some do's and don'ts.
Mm.
Like one time, I placed a portrait here. This is a nice portrait. What happened then? When he, let's see, when he flexed, because this was a guy that went to the gym and looked at himself when he in the mirror when he was working out. So what happened was that nice like female model face, she wasn't
So
that
cute.
pretty. No. So he was actually that's years ago, but he actually wanted to he went to laser the face off,
Wow.
and then I covered it with some more flowers.
Mm.
So, and this was like, we're gonna be flowers here and something here and a sunset or something. I can't remember, but so yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my. I had to learn the hard way that don't put a portrait.
Or for example, don't like make something like a design that goes against like the flow of the muscle, because then it's gonna happen the same. It's gonna look weird.
Yeah. And I would also say another golden rule is to, if you have faces or animals or anything with eyes, I would always make them face forward in some way. So everything should be facing forward, so that when the client is looking in the mirror, he can sort of face the people or the animals, or so, and not see the backside of things, but see the front of things. And also like cars, for example, like if you were to put a car in here, yeah, it would be better to put like the front of the car here, like ooh, nice car, instead of having the back, so that when he looks at, you don't want to see the back of things if it's not meant to be that way. If it's like, if it's
if
something
there's a reason,
if it's a really good reason why, then
like when they want it upside down because they want to look at it.
Yes, that's another thing.
That happens a lot.
I'm gonna write down things so I can make like a because I want to write things down so I can make this into some. But it's the direction of things.
So this direction is for portraits or animals that go on this side, but when it's in the inner part, it would be the other way around.
Yeah, it would be. But that's like,
because when you look at yourself in the mirror, you do like this. You don't turn it that way.
Yeah.
So then it's gonna
because if you put a portrait there, like I did here, because then she is facing that way. But it's because when he looks in the mirror, he's not seeing the back of her face. He's seeing the front of her face.
Yeah.
But he's also seeing the front of this guy, and the back is over there. So it's always, that's at least my opinion. But I feel like when I see tattoos that are sort of backwards, I cringe a little.
You feel like there's something weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's just me but that's my opinion anyway. Let's remove the car. That wasn't very nice. Yeah, so there's the directions. That's a good thing. And some clients have asked me, like, yeah, so if I want landscape on my arm, landscape, then they think about the word landscape, and they think, oh, it's wide. Landscape is so wide, it's not tall. So how do I put this on an arm? Should I just put it like like this and have it sideways.
Hmm.
I'm like, no, of course not, you know? Or some people think that they could have it like this, and let's say this is a forest with trees, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, no. We don't sort of read the body like that, because then we have to look at the body like this. So I would say everything should always be when the client is relaxed and the arms are relaxed and they're just hanging relaxed and not thinking. They shouldn't try to straighten their arms, they should just relax their arms. So that, like him, it's not super straight. There's this, like if you see, if we take the, they call it, like if we think about the bones here, and we can take this as sort of some double bones or whatever. And then you have the skeleton is like almost like this, like main. I think, and then something like this. I would think. I'm not a doctor, but let's see if we can think male, but it doesn't have to be male. Just human arm skeleton. And I don't know if someone's in not no okay. If someone's in the chat and they have a question, you can ask me questions if you want to. Let's see. Right. I would like to see, yeah, well, sort of here. I think it's my son, the 6-year-old.
Oh.
So he's trying to call me because he just gets the phone like, yeah, you can call her. So, yeah, sorry about that. But, you know what I mean? So, to think about the elbow and then towards the wrist. It's difficult to show it there, I guess. Especially in that angle, because then they show the angle like twisting their arm. But anyway, just to like think that yes, this area is the elbow. So it's sort of the muscle goes, you know what I mean? So that angle to like relax in the arm and think directions, so that you understand the directions of things. So things doesn't have to be horizontal.
Mm-hmm. No, vertical.
Or vertical. But when you think about if you want to make a nature here, then I would sort of suggest maybe that, like for example, you think about the tall, like what can you do in the height? You can have, for example, I usually try to get some perspective, so that all the way in the back is, let's just remove this there and this and there. Okay. All the way in the back, I try to keep, like maybe mountains and clouds, whatever. And then you can have more like trees here, trees. So think about things just get bigger and bigger. Maybe you want a little cute cabin like the one that I'm doing on the other sleeve. Like, oh yeah, can you do that here, for example, with a window? Hello, and then things just get bigger and bigger. So that's why I really like to start in the front, because when you place something, if you start placing things here, it's going to be very difficult to place it further down because of the perspective.
Mm.
So when you put something here first, let's say you start with some flowers, and they should be big, like, yes, do big flowers.
Yeah, it's like macro photo down here,
Yes.
and the higher up you go is like wide angle.
And then you can think of this angle. Maybe you want another flower that is more like, bending in the wind, following the anatomy again, following the lines of the muscles, some grass maybe, whatever. So what I mean is that you try to make stuff, and then you have bushes and blah blah blah. So that you have perspective. So you start big in the front, as big as possible. I think the more, because that's a contrast thing. If you have contrast between in sizes, so size contrast of big towards small. So you have like a tiny bird flying way over there.
That's very interesting, because I saw so many of your pieces and I never thought about it. But now that I think, it's like, of course, it's obvious. So much better.
But that's how I plan it. Like, but another thing to think about that I usually have a problem with sometimes, because I want to put a lot of stuff in there. But if you try to not put so many stuff in there, but like keep to one thing. If the client, for example, wants, I don't know, a cabin. Let's say the cabin is the most important, but it's in the forest. Then the cabin should actually be 70% of the canvas.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really always work like that on a sleeve, because you can't sort of bend a huge cabin, here, because it will bend, and then you have the windows, and then it's going to bend when he bends his arm. But the main idea is to go as big as possible on the main thing. So maybe you can have the cabin over here, but it can end there. So that the main cabin could be like this big, for example. And then you have some flowers in the front, or like a path towards the whatever.
But could you also place the cabin like down here, or you think that would look weird, or like it's not that important?
Because I would say that that's difficult because of the perspective. But that's if we take a look at, for example, let's see if I can just go to, or let's say we have just, let me just go and see if we can, Pinterest is nice. Because now I was listening to what I said and tried to type it. Pinterest. And we look at beautiful nature. And you know what I mean? It's like the perspective of things. Like, you can see the small trees in the middle.
Yeah.
But you have to think more taller, and so you have to find something that is like a tall. Now you have the stream here, and then that's closer to us, right? And then trees, and then the mountains, and this in the top, that's like way over there. So you have to have that perspective. You don't have to have that perspective, but I recommend it.
And for example, for this perspective theme, it would make sense that the objects that we have down here are more detailed than the ones that are up here.
Yeah. But usually I don't always do sort of use all of the sort of contrast techniques. But for example, this, if you were to do this, yes, of course, then the ones here in the bottom would be more focused, but that depends on how the camera takes the photo. So imagine.
Yeah, you could also focus the sea instead.
Yeah, but then this concept is more for making one sleeve look like one photo.
Mm.
You know, like what this is one image, this is one motive, this is one painting. Like when you do a painting on a canvas, and you know, you just don't put several things together. You make one painting. That's what I think, in my opinion. That's the
Definition of
prettiest.
a
Yeah,
sleeve.
and that's the prettiest way to make a sleeve, in my opinion. But I know also, like when you many in other styles,
Yeah.
you don't have to think about this. Then you just put things together wherever you want, but you still use this. You still know that you don't want to put, you know, a pinup girl here. You know, you don't want to put it there or at the elbow or right there. You know, you don't put it in those edges where it's gonna be sort of tricky and also twisted when you bend your arm and stuff like that. So that's like the other thing. You know, if it's old school, traditional, new school, whatever, you do several tattoos and yeah, you're gonna make a sleeve out of it. But I wouldn't say that that is a sleeve. But if we look at other photos too, that I saw these, for example, here ideas here, they have the Japanese, for example, they usually do more like maybe 2 or 3 motives, or like here with the dragon, it's only one dragon, but it takes up, because if it's only one motive, that's when I suggest that it should be 70%, so that the rest, what I call in Norwegian, I call it fugemasse, which is what is it? I found the word in English. So that if the dragon is the tile and the other stuff is the
it's like the beef and the salad. That's what you mean?
Probably, yeah. Except that I don't know. I should eat more salad, of course. But yeah, so that the main motive, if you do one thing, one main motive, okay, I'm gonna have a sleeve, I'm gonna have a dragon. Yeah, that dragon should, in my opinion, be like 70% at least. But that's not always what, you know, people. I don't know. Not everyone does that.
Because I was thinking about like how would you make a simple sleeve, because this has a lot of elements, and you also do color realism, so it's like it's very like a very rich design. But what about a client who says, I want a sleeve, but I want it to be like not so dark and quite simple? So I was thinking about maybe using more like like thin lines, like geometry, and I don't know.
I mean, a lot of geometry sleeves are like, you know, it's the same thing. You just want to follow the anatomy and think about muscles. And like these, like, what is this, Polynesian style, I guess. But also, let's see here. No, there. Where did I see that? Yeah, here. You know, like typical Gardas style.
Yeah.
So those are basically like also.
Yeah, that's pretty simple.
Yeah, but then still you have to use the anatomy.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
For example, this one, I would say like the mountain maybe should be a little bit more in the center, because when he's relaxed, you cannot see what the design is about. You just can see the sun.
True. Yeah, and I think in any style, I would say the golden rules are just to know the muscles, the bones, and to see, for example, veins, like so that you know if there's very visible veins somewhere, especially on, if they work out a lot and you see that the veins are sort of sticking out some places.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're bumpy. Then you should have that in mind. And then also, of course, if they have scarring, like the client that I had, with the water. So, but yeah, I love to do these sort of perspective kind of themes. But in any other style, I think it's just, you could either, I mean, to plan it like more in practice, I would say there are two ways. You can either take a photo of the sleeve, like of the arm, in a straight angle, like the client just stands like this and takes a photo of the arm, like I did here, just to see the sleeve, and I go a little bit towards the front. You know what I mean? So I can see his front, but not too much, because I think I would like to see the most important things from this angle.
Yeah.
And not from straight from the side, but a little bit more towards the front. So that's how I usually take the photos, and then I plan it. And like, for example, this is how I plan this sleeve. I usually just first I make a sort of like this. I cut out like a shape, like this is if I were to cut his skin and fold it, this is how big it should be. And then I go back and forth if I want to see it closed or if I want to see it open, and then I just put my parts in there, the parts that I create. And like I said before, I used to search for these images and just put them together. Oh, no, it's zooming in on me. Don't zoom on me. Yeah. So yeah, before I used to just Google the images, but now I use AI so much more for that, because then I get my own. So all of these images that I put in here, they don't exist anywhere except the symbol in the sky. That's found on Google or Bing. So yeah, but the like I said, the first way is to take a photo and then you design on top of the photo, like here, because then I can see, so I can show the client and he can see what it could be like.
Yeah.
But the other way is to have some, for example, we call it matpapir. What is that in English again? Like,
yeah,
like baking paper.
Baking paper.
Baking
I think
paper.
so.
Yeah. That type of, or even thinner, like a thin drawing, sketching paper. And then you just have a big piece and you sort of just put it around the arm, and you can sort of just draw the anatomy on top of that paper. So you draw, this is the shoulder muscle, you draw that on the paper. You can even like try to tape the paper stuck to the arm of the sleeve, or to the client. You draw on the muscles and like, okay, where's the sleeve going to end on top? Where's the bicep? Where's this area that I don't know what it's called? Where is the elbow? And where is the wrist? Where's the inside of the lower arm? Where's the outside? And then you can sort of like, fold it again so the paper is flat, and then you take a picture of that paper, because then you have sort of a mold, you have a template of it in a flat mold. You can take a photo of it from a straight angle, and then you can design on that. I do that sometimes when it's, for example, especially with advanced, uh, like this one actually. Mm, this is a mermaid, also made with AI, but the mermaid, this is not, like, the design is not made in AI. It's just only the tail is 5 or 6 images
Wow.
put together. So, but if I show you the video, you see here, I did a mold with plastic foil and I took a picture of it. And then I added the plastic foil to the image of the back of her so that I knew what size this was going to be. And this is a full cover up as well. But then you see I designed the mermaid with many different images, and just putting them together and molding them and like reshaping them, and switching her face, switching her hair, her arms, so that I make it more and more like how I want it to be. So yeah, that's like a process. But there, I used a mold, and that was not. Let's see, did I keep it? Maybe I deleted it. But I remember that I had plastic foil, my pink, there, and I just wrapped her in and taped it, and then I could mark on the plastic foil, and then I put it out on the table and I took a picture of it, and then I can also measure it, because one thing is, for example, on the back or on the arm, but it bends, it moves. So if you take a photo of it, you make a design, and then it's difficult to get the perfect size. So, but if you measure it, if you make a mold, what you know what I mean, like a
Yeah.
and then you put it on a flat, and then you measure it, like how tall it's going to be and how wide it's going to be. It's so much easier to make the stencils to go with that, right? But
What size do you use for Procreate for a full sleeve?
usually just a normal size. Yeah.
A4?
Like the normal, like what size is this canvas? Crop size, it says, no, it doesn't say, settings. Yeah, 2473 times 33. So it's a normal, because I think if they're too big, then it's gonna mess up all the storage and stuff. So I don't have, it doesn't have to be, because as long as I can save this as an image. And the other thing I do, as I told you, like, this is the sleeve that I was working on today. And this also had a mold, because let's see, I drew on her first. That's also a nice way to do this, because I wanted her to have this I wanted her to have the water here. Sorry. I wanted to have the water here because of her scars, right? And then I wanted it to have like a path going here with the stairs, and then a bridge just below, so that it's still on that muscle, but then we had a path going like this. Also, stairs. It's actually more there and then there. And then I wanted a nice cottage something, because she wanted it to be like this fantasy kind of theme, right? So, and I wanted this to follow the arm, so that when you look at it from the inside, you see that this is sort of you have the bridge, and then you see the stairs going around this area. Not in it, but around it. so that it follows her arm pretty nicely. So that's why I wanted to sketch on her, because I wanted to see how it moves. So that's always a nice thing to sketch on the arm first, so that you have this general idea of where things should be. And then I made a mold, but that was, let's see, normal, there, and there. That's the one I did, because I also wanted to see the size, and like, yes, I want water to go there below, and then I want top, you know, and steep. So the path and the stairs, I wanted to go that direction. So I made this just like a mold, and I put it on the table, took a photo of it, and uploaded it here, so that it's easier for me to make the rest of the design, which became this. Yeah. And then when I'm done with the design, I mean, that's just phase one. It's, I mean, the cool part, sort of, because we like the design and stuff, but it takes a lot. The next part is more difficult.
The boring part.
The boring part. Because then I split everything in pieces, so that I can tattoo starting from the front of the perspective and going backwards, like, or into the nature, you know. So I start with what's going to be all the way in the front, usually the bottom, you know. So I split all the parts that I would like to do piece by piece, because it's gonna be, you can't really make one stencil of this and put it on an arm. It's you can try, of course, but even though if you do that, you're not going to be able to sort of, I wasn't able to sketch all of this and make line work or whatever, you know, like on an entire sleeve. No. When I did the full dragon thing on a back piece, that's another thing, because that was one big dragon head. Then I did one big stencil, and I just, you know, sketched everything in like really fast. But this, I didn't want to sketch fast, so that's why I split it up in pieces. And I can show you like more in details when you're gonna make your sleeve. I can help you more. But then I divide this. I make a photo. Like, I just save this as a photo. So I divide. This is the lower arm, and this is the upper arm. So I divided. So I have the tree. I have the cottage, the stairs, the waterfall. You know, so that they can all be separate stencils. And then what I do is I go to PicsArt, and I have to, yeah, let's say, let's see if I can, see all. See if I can find one of those split stuff that I have. Yeah, for example, here, there, with the Marie's sleeve. These are the bits that I put on her sleeve. Because why I do this is because I take the design and I just copy it, and then I split the pieces. I remove all the background, because I can like do that manually. And I split all the pieces, but I don't change their sizes. So now I know that these are perfect compared to each other in size. And then I figure out how much bigger they should be when you print it, but I do that later. But the first thing is to get the stencils, and then I just do this, and I have stencils here. Whoop. Apply. This is a good enough stencil for me. Then I can print this in a very normal printer, and then I can start measuring. And I try, okay, how tall is Wonder Woman gonna be? And I measure on her compared to the plan. And I see, oh, Wonder Woman, she should be 25 centimeters. But on the paper, she's only 12. Then I know, oh, 200%, so 203 maybe. If I'm not sure, I use a calculator to find out the exact percentage, and I just enlarge with the printer. And then I know, and then I write the perfect number. And I for example, I can measure the mandala thing that was going to go around her elbow. Measure, oh, it should be 13 centimeters, for example. And then I measure that. Is that a good number with, if you compare it to Wonder Woman? Is it also 203%? Or maybe that was, 199. Okay, then let's do something in between, like 202%. So then I write 202% on the paper, so I know if I should need any more stencils later, it's easy for me to just copy it in the same size and just run it through the stencil machine. So I usually do that when I plan a sleeve. I design it, and then I do all the paperwork so that I can make all the stencils in this way, so that I know that all the stencils now are perfect, good to go, in the perfect size, and I put them all together and I do them just one by one. Because I used to remember, like before, I had to measure everything, every piece that you put in the pie, so that it took so much time.
So boring.
But it's nice to just get the paperwork done and you're done with it. So after that, you just tattoo. You have all the stencils, they're in a pile, ready to go. So I love that system. I think it works so well.
So you always put like piece by piece, like element by element. You don't do like a whole thing here and a whole thing here.
I can show you, for example, where's Marie? Most movies. Yeah. So, yeah, I took a photo of her arm, and I made the design. Well, here her reference, some of her reference, and I try to make Wonder Woman in AI. These are photos of her, so there are so many good photos, but she was more specific on how she should stand or pose. So we made her, here I tried more with AI. You see, it doesn't really look like her, but I got some help with the poses. So finally she looked like, oh no, almost finally. Sorry. Oh, there. Oh. There. So that's how she looked in the end. So you can't find a photo of Wonder Woman like this. I made her like this with the help of AI and Photoshop, like Procreate. So I put, the face in there and the hair and everything, so that everything is correct, but still with the help of AI. So, yeah, this is the total design. And the video, just to, have the general shape, and putting the face on the golden spot, and thinking about like when she's bending her arm, it shouldn't it shouldn't do anything with, like flowers, for example, and trees or whatever, that they're natural things. You can bend them and it doesn't become weird, or but when you put a face in there, or more like geometrical things, like a cube or a circle, like a perfect circle is going to be bent, so that's why I planned this. And she loves this design, so I'm happy. Yeah. But we have, and we've done more than this. I was happy, very happy with the last. That was just a few days ago. There we go. So that's when I made the tree. I want to do a little bit more color on the face of Milo. No, I can't remember her name. But yeah, and this. So we're not like, I think we have one more full session and then we're done. So it's pretty cool. I like it. I love those the thing, the DNA kind of thing that she wanted.
Yeah, the tree looks amazing.
Yeah, it's always to like have it, to sketch first on an arm and see how it bends and moves and flexes and everything, to just try everything of that, the flexing and the movement. That's important. And then it's the designing. But I think all of that with the designing, that just takes experience. Like, you like to design, you know, and then reference of what would he like, what would the client like, what if he was to search on Pinterest for a sleeve, you know, what images would he pick? That's why I always give them homework, because as I said, I used to do it home, Google images, blah blah blah. I make a design like, yeah, here, I made you something, and then they're like, yeah, but it's not really. And it was so many times that they wanted to change a little bit, or yeah, so yeah, mostly that, but it's not that type of horse or whatever, you know. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So now I give them homework. I give them a guide. It's a 5 pages PDF guide that helps them to daydream and to forget about the arm or the tattoo or the cover up or the leg or wherever they want it. Forget about the tattoo. Don't think about the tattoo. Think about what makes you happy. Dream. Who are you? Why are you you? What makes you you? What is the difference between you and everyone else? What's your interests, hobbies, passions? Do you love someone? Do you love something? What is charging your batteries? What is, what makes you crave life and feel the best feeling? And when I give those questions, some start to think about nature, family, their hobbies, traveling, or their hometown, or flowers. I'm in a field. Oh, Vikings. Yeah, Vikings. It's like they all see a lot of different things when I ask them to, like, just imagine, or if they already set on a theme. Some are set on a theme. Like, yeah, I'm going to have Manchester United. Okay. Fine. I'm not.
Boring.
Yeah. But for me, it's boring because I'm not interested in football. But for those who are, okay. But I'm not doing a logo.
Yeah.
I'm not doing those. But forget the tattoo, forget the arm, forget the whatever placement. Go into a daydream. Go into a daydream about your theme, about your topic. If it's Manchester United, or if it's your grandma, or if it's your hobby, or Norwegian nature. I don't know. Whatever it is, go into your theme. Like, be close to it, be near it, smell it, feel it, and then, like, sort of close your eyes and imagine that you're there. What do you see? What do you hear? What's around you? Do you see landscape? What's the surroundings? Are you in a city? Is it daytime? Is it nighttime? Is it winter? Is it snowing? Or is it summer? And you have, sun rays.
It's like an AI, a human AI.
Yeah. And that's it. And I want them to, and I put all of these questions there. Like, Is it raining? How's the weather like? Is it cold? Is it warm? Is it like, what feelings do you have? Is there a situation somewhere, or if it is it's just like still photo, or is it action going on? Who is there? Maybe it's no people. Maybe it's just animals. Maybe it's flowers. Maybe it's nature, or maybe it's a fight between a samurai and something else. Whatever it is, they are Alice in Wonderland. They are diving into their own sort of daydream to find their dream tattoo. And then when they have done that, they start writing the things down. Oh, I see grandma. I see flowers. What flowers? Oh, I see those flowers. Blah, blah, blah. Go into detail. What do you see? And then when they have a list of all the things that they see, they start finding reference photos. And I give them a Google Drive shared folder, and I give because I send it to them, like, here's an invitation for this shared folder. Inside the folder, you will find the guide. Read the guide 1 time, 2 times. Spend at least a week to daydream, to find the images, and go into detail. And I say to them, like, I would rather that you have 300 photos in there than 3.
Yeah.
Lots of photos. And then when they do, I meet them, we have the design session, I open up the Google Drive folder, and I'm like, good job. 99% of the clients have at least, like, usually they have like 20 photos up to 200. Now I'm waving to camera, so it's don't wave, don't zoom in. It does that all the time.
What? I didn't know.
Yeah, it's a tracking camera, so it can track me wherever I go. But then we had the design, and then I look at the folder, I'm like, oh, cool. Ooh, I like that photo. I like this photo. I'll put them together. Oh, how about this? And I make ideas in front of them. They sit with me, and I design, and then some of them are like, wow, this is so cool, because they haven't seen this before. And then I also show them, like, look at all of this work I'm doing for you. It takes a lot of work. So if I design a sleeve, sometimes it takes me, like, I think the longest, the last years have been 6 hours for designing a sleeve. It used to take me days.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not that much.
No.
6 hours, that would be...
But I say to them that at least 3 hours.
Yeah.
But and I'm working on this back piece now, which is a back piece and all the way to the knees. That has taken until now, I think. Oh, where is it? I think we have spent
I haven't seen that one.
5 hours on the design so far. But this is sort of almost more simple than a sleeve, because it's just one angle.
Yeah.
I don't have to think. Well, I've thought about, because I wanted some of the arms to go like a little bit around. So I want this one to go down on the hip on this side. So, but I think it's like, to have some personal stuff in there, and the other octopus hiding there and stuff. So we only have some more details, like maybe 1 more hour on the design, and then we're good to go. And then I want to do some more on the edges, because I don't like faded edges anymore. But yeah, so this was like maybe 5 hours of designing. But he had reference photos, like lots of them, and he knows about this. He's been working with huge aquariums and stuff, so he knows a lot about it, and that also helped. That's why I like to work with the clients, because usually they know more than I do about this stuff.
Maybe he says, I don't know, it doesn't make sense that the octopus is by
Yes.
the red coral because it's toxic. I don't know, whatever.
Like, for example, a lot of octopus photos or art or tattoos is an octopus like dancing in the water. Like,
Yeah,
he was like, they don't do that.
they don't do that.
No. And they don't move
They don't
around
like
like
dancing.
that. No. They swim and then they swim backwards
Mm.
when they swim.
Yeah.
Or they like to climb on things. They like to lie, and they like to lie down on stuff, or go around a corner, or like hide. They love hiding. So I think this was more because first I was gonna have the octopus sort of like in the middle of the back, But then I was like, no, it's better. He's climbing sort of. He's climbing on the edge of the whole back. So yeah, I think that's a cool thing. But yeah, I think I have more sleeve stuff, but I haven't saved all of them in this folder. But yeah, this is the other the female sleeve that I showed you. Like she wanted her kids, 3 kids. Let's see. There we go. So you see it like unfolded. And I made she wanted hearts in fireworks because she said that my kids are like fireworks, so like always sort of action and hyper and lots of energy and since it was going to be a cover up on the upper arm as well, so that was a nice thing, a way to sort of cover it without too much hassle. And then she wanted the portraits, so again, placing portraits, 3 portraits on a lower arm. It's better to show you on this one where I drew the lines. So if I start showing there, there is there, for example. Now you see the circles. So you see that the hearts and the stars, they fit into that circle. And then, well, I just wanted the children's silhouettes to be visible from this angle. And then you have the golden spot. So the girl's got the golden spot, and the guy, he's very happy though, because he was like, yeah, I'm the face that you see, from the front. I am the best place. I'm like, no, the girls have actually the best
Don't tell him.
place. Yeah. But why is this the golden spot?
Well, I think it's the best skin. I love tattooing here.
Mm-hmm.
It's more comfortable. It's also flat, which is great. It's not like you don't expose it to the sun so much. I don't know. It's like baby skin.
Yeah, and that's what I usually say. It's flat, so it's perfect for a portrait because up here it's more like round, but here it's more flat. It's not as exposed to the sun as this, so usually you are more tanned on the outside than on the inside. And also, you usually have less hair here. So those that have hair, they have more on the outside than on the inside. And the final reason is sort of like life happens. You bump into something, or you scratch your arms, you fall. Like usually, I think most damage is done on the outside of the body and not so much on the inside. So it's more usually a little bit more
protected.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
I love this
spot. That is the golden spot.
It's the best. I should do something with it.
But yeah, so I think it's the thing with the muscles and the bones and the movements, flexing, like try to sketch it, see how the client moves, and then make it into a design, figure out where things are going, and then when you make the design, you can, with some math, you can make stencils, find the size and print them out, and you can have all stencils ready to go. I think that is amazing when you, especially in the way I like to work, this works insanely good for me.
And what about at the time of tattooing? Like, where would you start? Do you always start somewhere, or you can just pick any element that you like?
Imagine, oh, this is your pen. Imagine we were to start this. I could, for example, go for the fireworks first because it's also a good thing because it's a cover up. Then it's nice to do that, the cover up parts early because then I can have another go later. But the thing is, I can't, for example, I could split the children from the background, and the background is made with AI, actually. But I can't do the background before until I've done, the children first. You know what I mean? So I need to do the children before I put the background. Otherwise, you have to sort of cover up your own work. You can't do that. You can't sort of, with a painting, you can start in the back and work your way to the front. That's a very good idea when you're painting. It's better to do that. But when you're tattooing, you have to think opposite. You have to start like in the front of the perspective and move your way towards the,
So you would rather start here than here?
Yes. And usually, like if it's I like when sleeves have a logical placement, for example, like the kids here, the kids' photos, they should be a good size, but the silhouettes of the three kids walking towards the beach, it doesn't have to be that big because it's just silhouettes. But there's a perspective here. They are bigger in front, and it goes, and you see the background, like the sand and the plants, that's in the back. And then you have the kids walking towards the beach, and then you have the beach behind that, and then you have the stars sort of behind that. So that's why I like to start in the front. Nice. Where's my pen? Did I lose it somewhere?
I think you. Oh yeah, you had it.
Yeah, I did. That's so weird.
Maybe there it is.
There it is. There it is. Okay. So, for example, here. Let's remove this there. Here, this is in the front. Oh. Okay. This is the front. That's in front of her, right?
Yeah.
The sandy things here, blah, blah, blah. So the first session I did this part. That was the first session. I just I cut out everything first. I did this the splitting parts that I always do. Look at this background. That's a huge stencil. I'm not going to use all of that, but I need it just in case because I don't know where the edges are. So, but the rest here, they're split into pieces, made to be tattooed. See, I lost one of the kids here, but yeah, he is somewhere. You know what I mean? So the first session I did this and this. So there are two parts, two stencils, and then I put them in that the app that makes the stencil, printed it out, figured out the perfect size for everything, and then I placed this, and then I placed the other one, because that is going behind. So this is number 1, this is number 2, and then you have her, number 3, and then he is going in front of her, so he was number 4, and then you have her as number 5, and then I had the rest here, like some flowers and butterflies and some more flowers. That could be number 6. And then I could do this, the plant thing, and this as, 7. This is one piece, but it's going around, so it's just one. But that's number 7. And then I will do them as number 8. And then I actually did this, the upper part, as number 9. So this background is the last thing I do. And that's how far I've come. I've actually done all those 9. So the 10 is the last thing that is missing right now. So that's how I place it. So I go, take the background as the final thing. Yeah, good. Well, I did with the shadows, of course, on the children. Mm-hmm. You have any other questions?
I don't know. Maybe I would just ask for, if you're doing color and you're, for example, doing number 1, you want to do 1, 2, 3, 4 the same day. Then you would need to do 1, 2, 3, 4 for dark colors, right? No, you do like the yellows and whites in 1, and then you go with 2.
No, it depends. That's it. Usually, like, for example, with her, I think I actually did 1 and 2 on the same day, because the first day we started doing the design. So that took most of the day, so that we only had time for this as to start tattooing. But then I knew that it was going to be several weeks until next session. So yeah, I did the dark and the light colors. So I did dark here, dark there, and then light, like the white stuff there and there. Exactly that you say. And then the next session, I think I did all of the portraits. I think I did those in 1. I can't remember. I think so. Because then I do the same. I do, but it depends though. If I, for example, do here, I do this portrait with the dark colors. I'm just missing the white and stuff. I wait with the white. Sometimes now I actually don't do like all of this before I do the white. I would rather do, like, I make this portrait and I do the white, blah, 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 blah. And then I could actually just wrap this in plastic or just protect her or something, you know what I mean? So then I do the next part.
Yeah.
And I complete that with all the colors. And so I think I like to work that way because it's less painful. So I think my clients also like it better that way, because if you go too much back and forth, then it hurts so much more, and you have to sort of, you get this tap out thing, and I don't really like that. I would rather to do it as less painful as possible, so that they can stick it for it, like, because sometimes I have my badass days, which is up to 10 hours in the studio, because I have clients, traveling far, and they want to do the design and like tattoo as much as possible. So then it's nice to like do piece by piece, and I finish every piece. That's always what I try to aim for.
But that was very helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I think now to just talk generally about how to plan a sleeve, it's difficult, because I can always show you what I've done, but in general for other styles and stuff, it's more difficult for me to think. If not, I mean, of course, if I have a specific style in mind, then it's easier to plan and help you to think about it. But if you also look at what we saw, it was, I don't know if it was here. No, maybe it was in there. Maybe it was here somewhere. Yes. Like biomechanical. Like it's not really my. I don't. It's not a favorite style, but if you look at it, it also has that the S shapes and the diagonals are so nice to have because you see that it's going diagonally across the lower arm. It makes it so dynamic and it follows the arm perfectly. So I think in any style, as long as it has those. And one thing other that I forgot to talk about is that, in my opinion, I think when you look at a sleeve from far and you can see that, oh my God, this is an interesting piece, and you can see it from far. You don't have to go super close to see the details. I just enjoy those sleeves so much better than if I don't know. This also is sort of like you can see it from far, and you can still see sort of the main shapes and what's going on. But if it's too crowded, like I would say maybe, I don't know, sometimes it could be too crowded so that you just see an arm with lots of ink where you can't really see from far what it is. So I would always suggest, I think this is from Guy Aitchison. No, it says Don McDonald's. Okay, but it's very inspired. But yeah, so that you have, color contrast and make things big. That's my opinion. Like, make stuff big so that you don't have a lot of small stuff, like small stickers. I think it can be like a messy bedroom. You know what I mean? It's just it can become just a big mess. So I would say always like go big or go home. Go bigger, go fewer, and then you can work with the details so that you can like make things really pop. Like one time I went to a seminar with Brandon Bond, and I remember he showed me photos also, but to realize the effect it has when you really go bigger. So that was the first time I made a really big tattoo. Not a big tattoo, but like a zoom. So a client sorry, I'm speaking like blah, 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 back and forth, but a client wanted a tiger, and he would like to have like a full body view of the tiger climbing on the upper part of his arm, like an upper arm piece, upper like half sleeve thing. And I was like, I just saw this Brandon Bond. I was at the seminar. I'm like, I would like to try something. Are you open to this cool idea? And I showed him just a zoomed in on a beautiful tiger, but you could see only the eye and some of the patterns in his face, and you can see some grass, like 2 or 3 strands of grass diagonally just in front of him, like this. So he's sort of hiding behind the grass. You can just see the eye and a little bit of this, the cheek and stuff. And that was so interesting. And the client loved it, and I tattooed it. And I remember I was like, people were like, wow, because they could see it from 10 meters. I'm like, wow, that's a cool tattoo. And I loved that ever since. So I would also like always say.
But was it just the eye here and then?
Yeah, I don't even know if I have it. It's so old. I'm gonna check if I have it on my Instagram. I can go back to here. Hello. Let's see if I have it. I can see it like very clearly in my head, but I guess no one else can. That's understandable.
But he meant like, did you go big with the details or with what?
Yes,
Because
or like
I thought
just
the opposite.
more close up,
Okay.
more close up, zoom in.
Hmm.
And for example, with this Gene Simmons portrait,
Yeah.
so that the face is like so big. Let me just, I don't know if you can see this. This portrait was, I remember it was also got into some magazines and stuff, and I know that Kiss themselves, they know my client because he's full of Kiss portraits now. So yeah, he's been like backstage with the band, and they know him
Wow.
by name. But yeah, I've done so many Kiss portraits on him. But the main thing is that to make things zoom in and make it bigger, so that it's the opposite of microrealism, really. It's like macro lens, macro realism. That's, I want to, yeah, I want to trademark that. Don't steal it, guys. I want to trademark that thing, macro realism. Still seeing if I can find that tiger. Here, this is not as big, but like I made a gorilla to cover a star, but it's such a close up of the face of the gorilla.
Yeah.
It's still difficult to show you here. But yeah, so it's sort of the close up of the gorilla instead of just having a gorilla head or more like a portrait. It's so close up that you can't see the rest of it, like the main shape of it, because you don't need it. Like for example, when you're doing an angel, if you're doing a full upper arm realism and you want to try this macro realism where you zoom in to make an angel, you only need to see maybe a part of the wing and sort of her face, or like she has some expression, whatever, maybe her shoulder. You don't need to see her whole body. You don't need to see both the wings and to understand that she's an angel. But I know that you like to cut things out, like you like to have an object and be able to cut it out and have no background. I do more of the opposite, right? Yeah, still trying to find that tiger, but it's so old. I think I made it way before Instagram was a thing. So I only have it here if I have remembered to repost it or post old stuff. I haven't done that so much.
But I understand it now.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, I can't see if I can't find anything else right here. Isn't it? Like it's a good. Yeah, but okay. For example, on Ingvild,
Yeah.
the milkshake. You don't need to see the full bottle. And I made it as big as possible. The candy, made them big. And there's this car, made that smaller, but just to have also the contrast of huge candy and a small car. I can show you the huge candy and the small car. It's difficult to see there, but I can, and the huge roses as well, because then I can go more deeper with the details. And this is 6 years healed, actually. But yeah, so I like to do things, if you try to make them bigger, then you have more room for details. And not only the details that are gonna be able or like possible to tattoo, but they're gonna stay there for 10 years or more. Because that's what a lot of tattoo artists forget these days, is that you're not just creating a tattoo to take a photo of today. You're making a tattoo that the client is going to walk around with for the rest of their life. So if you make a tattoo that lasts, then that client is a walking business card. And so that's why I think it's so important for more of the younger generation that you haven't been tattooing long enough to see how your tattoos heal over time. It's a good thing to try to understand. Okay, I got one idea for this. Is also a cheetah, but I got it so close that you can only see the eyes almost. You know? Instead of this is a cover up as well, though. But like show you guys too the cheetah, so that I made the face of the new one so much closer than to. You don't have to see the whole head. You don't have to see the main shape. I was thinking. I was just saying something before I saw this. Can you remember?
You were talking about young tattoo artists who haven't had the chance to see their work through the years.
Okay. Sorry, I'm at the end of my Instagram. I just wanted to see if I have the tiger. I don't. So that means I need to repost that tiger sometime. If I find it. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to think the way of doing that, like the macro realism, but still keep it, because like my client doesn't want the old way sleeve, with the faded edges and like I don't know. I feel like he's different style.
But what you could do is to use. I mean, if your clients want the air, as I call it, like.
Yeah, I think so.
Want
I think he prefers. I think he prefers that.
But the open skin can also be included in a sleeve as part of the design. If it's, for example, like an ornament, like a filigree, you can, like I did with the edges on Marie. The edges are filigree patterns, but it's her skin, so it's a negative space.
Yeah.
And you can use that to sort of, or, I mean, it's just so you have sort of a. I think as long as you like the general idea, and I think the most important thing is the bending and the flexing and the muscles, and that you try on sort of the sleeve and design the whole thing. That's the most important rule, I would say. But yeah, this is 22 years healed.
Wow.
And so I've learned a lot just by that. Just by looking at healed photos,
Wow, it even looks like a different face.
Yeah. Because everything sort of blends together. All of the sharp details, they will calm down and be more mild or toned down, or like, everything that you feel is sharp and it looks like it's gonna stay like this. It doesn't. It will blend together, and all edges will not be crisp anymore. Everything will be more rounded. So I'm gonna try to show you guys this photo here, like 22 years healed. Let's try it without that lamp. See? That's difficult. I'll maybe make an overlay or something. So yeah, it's nice to have microrealism and small details and thin lines, but how do they look after 5 years? How do they look after 10 years? and you won't know that until you see your own work heal over time. But yeah, is there anything else about like sleeve planning in general that you?
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Then if I think about any question, I can just ask. But this was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for letting me film this so that I can, you know, give this to anyone else who wants this.
Yeah, I just wanted to know like the red flags, like what not to do, and how to start, because I have so many ideas and I like so many things, and I was like, I will start here and then no, maybe here, and so it's nice to have a plan. And I think the shapes of the arm are perfect for thinking about new ideas. Like, okay, this is rounded, so then I would think about something that is rounded as well.
It doesn't need to be rounded, but as long as you know, that it fits there, so you don't sort of like. I mean, some artists are like very edgy and like, I want to make a square there. It's going to be a perfect square, but it won't be when you move. But you know, you can sort of make it and use the shapes of the arm to maybe create surrealism. You know, like maybe something is weird or it's dripping, but you sort of
just use the shapes on your favor.
Yeah, just to use them as a favor and or for your favor and incorporate them into the foundational building of the design.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just play around and see what you think looks cool. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Tusen tack.
Thank you. And thank you, guys. And have any questions, you can always comment this video and I'll see what I can do for you. Okay. Bye-bye.